Good evening, souls and morons. This is the Standing on Business podcast. Here is I am Prism, aka the Angler, aka the Puppeteer, aka the Latcher, aka the Dodger. And with me is my best friend and co-host.
Dan, aka Baldhead, aka Washed, aka Not Worthy of Tier 1 Quarterback. And we stand on
Business.
business. Oh, we got a juicy one for you, and it's our last episode of Standing on Business ever. We only want to do a two-part, Priz. We talked about it. Only want to do a two-part, just stand on business for 2 weeks and then just be done with it. So, we got some juicy topics to talk about. And
Yep.
I know you got some that you're just, kind of salivating from the lips at to go ahead and talk
Yeah.
about.
Kind of mad Limnos made us discontinue the podcast, but
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
Yeah, he
we got a lot to talk about here, Dan.
he did. He sent us a letter in the mail and it just said that we would get sued and I just, my lawyer here, he said, "Hey, Dan, we should take this very seriously." So I was like, "Okay. All right. Sounds good, my lawyer." Yeah,
Never
let's
touch that.
let's talk about the first topic, which is the season 4 semis recap, where two teams, we had 4 teams that were in it, and we had GGG and League of Shadows, and DDE against the Dancing Turkeys. Which one do you want to talk about first?
Dan, I think we got to start with GGG and Shadows. We can't give the people what they want too early. We kind of got to edge them because I know they want to hear from you
Mm-hmm.
about your semifinal victory. So we're just
Mm-hmm.
gonna keep them edging a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, they won. GGG won in great fashion. They didn't update the scores here on the website, but it was at one point. Yeah, they haven't updated it on the website. Do you remember what the score was?
Oh, maybe like a 4-point win. We don't have the stats either, but
Yeah.
supposedly Finn threw for over 400 yards and Wayne ran like 21 times. I don't know what for, but we saw some pretty good QB play and pretty good offenses. What was your general take on the game?
Um, Still in shock, to be honest. I'm still in shock with how the whole entire game played. You had a lot of things happen in that game. You had our first line hop that was recorded for an automatic first down that would have only stopped him for 3 points. So League of Shadows probably would have lost by even more if Finn just didn't even line hop. That was huge. Both games had both storylines where there was rules that were implemented on both games that we haven't seen throughout the whole entire season. So that was big. And then just the nonstop offense going back and forth between two teams and the lack of defense, to be honest. I don't know if it was just like that good of offense or the lack of defense.
Yeah, speaking of the line hop, I haven't watched the replay, but watching it live, I kind of agreed with Finn that it looked like he barely clicked, but somehow got past it. I would have loved to see how the game would have played out if they got the field goal and say GGG went up 14-3 to see how it would have played out from there. But of course, that's not how it was. And it felt like we saw the Shadows run the same play to top like 10 to 15 yards the entire game, basically. Was
Yeah,
that
that
is that kind of your impression?
Badona slant up and we're like yeah. Yeah, that was definitely kind of my takeaway. It's kind of what Wayne's offense has been the whole entire season is kind of the opposite role, going opposite, throwing short, or like the 90s and the delay slants and all that stuff. It's just kind of been their staple, and not that many people will go ahead and gamble on it because they don't want to give up deep. So it's kind of smart to go ahead and go downfield. But at the same time, we got to talk about it. There was a minute left in the game. Wayne had the ball. I thought the game was over. Actually, let's rewind just a little bit before that. A little bit.
Mm-hmm.
5 minutes left. League of Shadows is up 2 possessions. 2 possessions, League of Shadows is up. It's Finn's ball. I was like, oh, this game's over. I'm literally getting ready. I'm telling my team like what we need to do in the Super Bowl against Wayne. I'm like, oh, this game's over. 5 minutes left. Up 2 possessions. And Finn and GGG just screamed down the field. Big 90 to Gurley. Another big post to Gurley. And then they just, Irv with a nice icon scoop and catch, and then they just go down the field, and they boom get it within one possession. And then flip side, Wayne goes down the field. 1 minute left. You're up. I think he was up. What was he? 3, and it would have been 6 if he kicked the field goal. 109 or
Hmm.
111 left, and he chooses to go with the skinny post that Irv has guarded in the past earlier that game, and gets stopped. And then with 110 left, they go down. GGG goes down and scores to win on another late post to Gurley. Um, I'm still baffled at that because I thought League of Shadows is going to be better defensively. What's your opinions on the kind of the last 5 minutes and how it shook out?
Yeah, so I called the game over as well. I think Finn showed a lot of confidence in Gurley because they were really biting on Irvine, from what I recall.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, if I'm being honest, Krusty Senior kind of got cooked the last 5 minutes on some of these Gurley routes. Um, Finn is just the best 2-minute quarterback that we have in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it was a glitch, I think it was a 50-50 call. The camera angle was not great, but Wayne or Krusty Senior, whoever you want to call him as, took a bad roll to middle. That kind of happened to me in turkeys as well. So you kind of have to take responsibility as QB there. And then I think the decision not to field goal was a pretty poor decision, in all honesty, because fundamentally how you play defense changes if you go up 6. So what happened is they called the skinny post, and obviously it didn't work out. So they're only up 3. So you're kind of playing defense to stop them and win the game. Don't let them get a field goal. And so because of that, they lit up the post. But if they were up 6, they likely don't lit up that post, and it's just a much more difficult position for Finn. So I think strategically it was a pretty low IQ decision. And then I think the play call, doing something like that, the opposite role on Irv, Irv is going to gamble there. I think it just kind of was a representative of their offense that they never developed the trust or chemistry to run any of these complicated routes or anything across the middle. So I think it was a great read by Irv and just kind of shut off some of their limited offense by the Shadows. And frankly, it's the best comeback we've ever had in the league by Finn.
Yeah, it was. It was 2 possessions, screams down the field within 5 minutes. There's so many little quarterbacks that can do that to go ahead and go down the field and then just to throw it up the way that he did. He threw PPs and he has to go ahead and throw it up. Like he has to go ahead and PP it. And I guess within your mindset is, oh, if it's PP incomplete, cool. But if it's PP, because on that play, Gurley to Deeb when there was 1 minute left, it was covered for a majority of the time. And I think you're 110% right. If they kick that field goal, I think they just play prevent D umbrella defense where you just, not letting anything get behind you or nothing deep at all. But then you had Cheeky that kind of went off a little bit and let that open. And yeah, big props to Gurley. Gurley tried out the MBT 2.0 and had a good game overall against Wayne. There was a couple of questionable angles that he took against Wayne, and Wayne did, get some sneaks for first downs and crucial yardage. But yeah, just a absolute mind boggler on how that last 5 minutes went. And I'm actually very happy because we get to see a lot of new faces in the Super Bowl because of it. And we're going to come back to kind of this topic a little bit later on that regards on how that ends. But one thing that we didn't really talk about is that glitch that you kind of mentioned. The glitch, everybody that wasn't there, that didn't watch it, um, it was just a bad camera angle and he was a little bit too close to the line and it the sound went off of he's running, and when money zoomed in on it a little bit more probably like a day later, it looked like he didn't pass. So that does suck, but at the same time, you know Wayne just said play on. So
Yeah, and sometimes we have to play in the parameters of the game. Like in the Super Bowl, Jeff had a field goal. If you look at where he kicked it, he made it, but it rolled it out. Sometimes the triggers are just not 100% accurate. Um, but yeah, so if you were the commish, what would you have called there?
well, I was in the booth and I said it's whatever the referees say in football where it's inconclusive evidence. You know what I mean? It's inconclusive. Like we don't have any view of if he crossed or not crossed and what happened on the field. You gotta go with. So, but if both sides, like if one side was like, yeah, glitch, and then they were like, okay, glitch, then, you know, you just got to move on. But yeah, you're right. We got to play with our buggy game that we've had since 1998 that money's been updating, but can't be perfect.
Yeah, I agree. That's probably what I would have done. And also, I want to get back to Gurley. I
Mm-hmm.
think what I was also impressed with, okay, first off, you mentioned the angle where he's giving up more yards. I do
Mm-hmm.
agree he did that. But in the regular season, it would be like an extra 5 or 6. And I feel like in this game, it'd be like 2 yards or 3 yards. So at least he like was limiting how bad of an angle it was at times. But then offensively, he balled out. Like Finn gave him confidence. I even saw him juke like Krusty Jr. or Krusty Sr. at one point for like a 20-yard yak play. So I think Gurley impressed.
Yeah, I think if anybody gets the game ball, it's between Finn and Gurley for sure. I think Gurley balled out offensively. He had a game, you know. He took those two anxiety pills before the game to let him rest a little bit. You know, Wayne is putting a petition to go ahead to the commissioner for taking enhancement drugs. Um, but he did. He balled out. And one thing I did tell him that he's been kind of reciprocating to me is that, Dan, I never forgot what you told me, that I gotta walk the walk. If I'm gonna talk the talk, you gotta walk the walk. So he walked the walk that game. He did. He did a great job. Irv was kind of non-factor in GGG's defense. I don't know. They let up deep a lot. They let up some posts. I don't know whose responsibilities they were, but they got the job done. They got the stop when they needed to, the last stop, and then they scored. And Finn kind of shut up us haters and me especially on this podcast, and you kind of knowing how to win. That's what we kept on talking about on the last podcast, right?
Hmm.
Knowing how to win, and he showed us in his own way that he knows how to win.
Speaking of Finn, please timeouts. You're the worst timeout caller in the history of Blitz. You suck at timeouts. Please call a good timeout.
Did he call him that timeout? I don't remember his timeouts.
I don't
I
know.
don't know.
They let like 15 seconds run, then called timeout.
Oh yes, I do remember that. Yeah, yeah, I threw
Yeah.
some shade for that one. Yep.
Well, okay. So not to like latch on to this topic too much.
Huh.
Final question about this game. Where do you draw the line between? I mean, maybe it can be both. Comeback versus choke. But maybe we can also talk about that later.
Yeah, that sets us up perfectly for later. It sets us up
Okay.
perfectly. Um,
All right.
Semifinals, game two, Dancing Turkeys against DDE. That was your Saturday night. After actually not Saturday night, Saturday afternoon special game. A lot of juiciness happened. Priz, I'm gonna go ahead and pass that one off to you. I think the score was 35-11 or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think going into this game, I was interested, basically like what I mentioned on last episode, that Krusty is really good at exploiting a defense's weakness. So if they have one glaring weakness. So I was really curious to see how he'd do against a defense that has like solid players at every position. And I think he kind of didn't show out very much. And I think the or not turkeys, the DDE defense showed up. I think in the regular season, y'all had the greatest, you know, season ever by a defense by points per game. Uh, and it just seemed like from the get-go, y'all, you know, were able to get to him. I think he should have took a field goal probably that first drive. Uh, I don't believe any excuses about needing to go for a touchdown there because if you're down 4-0, you
Mhm.
take a field goal and then with a touchdown 2 point, you can tie it up. But and then on the other side, well, first off, Dan, I thought you played excellent. There was one play where you were spy and like you literally went from spy, you guarded the bottom sideline, then you came back and guarded the mid. You like stuck on him perfectly. So I thought that was one of the more impressive defensive plays of the game. And
Thank you.
then I thought Romo just performed. Like I don't know where this stuff in the post game came from, but that's another topic. But I mean, what more can you ask? He had a perfect QBR,
Mhm.
scored every possession. You know, controlled the game. I think really tier one QB play all the way. So I'd be curious from you, what was before you get into your impressions of the game, what was the game plan kind of going in?
Uh, Roma was kind of talking about it in the chat of our team chat throughout the week of how we're gonna go ahead and tackle the game, and I kind of just know how Crusty plays. He literally just scrambles 20 yards, and he has the set plays where it's either double motion or is a big 90, um, and that's basically his playbook. And once you go ahead and take that away from him, and you go ahead and spy, and you negate him to short yard runs or some bad throws, then it just gets really hard for him, especially when you shorten the field. They got down the field. If you watch the game, they got down the field a lot, pretty well. And then once it got in the red zone, it got really, really tough for him. So that's kind of like the next step of a lot of quarterbacks is how do you score in the red zone? I think we saw that in season one a lot is that people were struggling to go ahead and score in the red zone at some point. And the more advanced quarterbacks kind of figured some plays, some ways to go and score, obviously sneaking. And Cressy just doesn't really have that in his bag against someone that can kind of negate both. So yeah, that was kind of the game plan. Defensively, offensively was just to go down. We felt like we had great matchups. We felt like, Cressy leaves a lot of stuff open. If it's deep or if it's a sideline, there was like 3 to 4 plays that were just solely his responsibility that he just let up, and we just kind of picked and prodded at that. And Romo, he's been cooking lately, dude. He has no question in my heart that he can be tier one, and he's on the fringe for me. He's definitely tier one gameplay on that last game. He went like what 21 for 25, 360 yards, 3 touchdowns. So he played he played beautifully.
Yeah, I was kind of curious this season how teams would play. There were certain teams uh, that really seemed like double route merchants. Like that was
Mm-hmm.
basically what their entire offense was. And I
Mm-hmm.
I did see you flying across the field a lot, so I do think y'all were well prepared and you kind of knew his playbook.
That's what he is. Yeah, that's what he does. He's got to shake it up a little bit. He's got to broaden his horizons. And once he realizes that, and what other defenses realize that the switches, we did a lot of switches and stuff compared to other defenses that haven't, and it truly negates it.
Yeah, and then I think on defense, yeah, I think I kind of was pretty disappointed in Krusty's defense overall this playoffs. Like against us, he kind of made it pretty obvious where he was going to be each play.
Mm.
And missed a lot of tackles, and then against you guys, he just got cooked repetitively.
Yep, he did. He did. That's a topic that we got later on that I would like to go and highlight. But this game itself truly encapsulates that, just like what I said that after the game, that we're a lot like Triple T in season two, is that when you have synergy, when you have trust, and you have skill, and you combine all of that together, then it just creates a really good team. So like our team defensively is pretty stout. Our team offensively is humming and has been humming for the past couple of weeks. Romo's gotten a lot better with his cadence. Romo's got a lot better within his play calls. He's got a lot better listening to icons. Like there's a lot of times where Kai and I are, improving and getting open, and then we say wide receiver or RB, and he's listening and he's reacting right away. So Romo has just taken his game to a whole entire different level, and that's just of respect and trust that we have across the team. You know what I mean? And if someone fucks up, like I know we talk a lot in chat, but if someone fucks up, we always say, "Ah, my bad." You know what I mean? So there's a good atmosphere within DDE for sure. And on the other side of the dancing turkeys, like I feel for Turk and Portis. I really do. They had a really good week one playoff against you, but
Hmm.
I feel like, which is going to be another topic later on. I feel like they did their job a lot of ways, even though the turkey had. I think Romo got turkey on this one in a lot of ways within mind games, within going ahead and sneaking as much as he did, um, and just kind of getting Turkey's head in the game. And Portis defensively had some lapses, but man, those two balled out all season. So, and they had
Yeah,
pretty good statistic game too.
yeah. This was the defending champs that you sub in Portis for Wayne. people say probably a weaker team, but it's like not too much weaker. Like it's just about the same team. Um, and speaking on that, like Romo took 0 sacks and had 12 runs for 95 yards against Turkey, who's undeniably one of the best blitzers. He's Romo's negated Turkey in both games they played. So I guess he's now the Turkey counter. Um, I mean, this kind of might go to it the Super Bowl you know preview if we do one
Mhm.
and predictions. But man, what is Romo's deal that he can cook Turkey? I feel like I remember him cooking Devin, but he has his weaker running games against Gurley and Thing. So is there something in his head where he's not locking in, and he thinks, oh, I can goof around more against those blitzers? But that's something I'm going to be kind of watching for.
I think it's kind of like what Jeff did against Thing as well, is where you try to go ahead and usher your game to their style, which you got to do sometimes. And with the because Gurley and Thing, they don't have like the twitchy responses or the guessing factor to have the spatial awareness of the game to react that fast. So what Romo's trying to do is Romo's trying to go ahead and you know, make them twitch, make them do that. But when they don't do that, then he's kind of stuck. But I think Romo's done a really good job on changing his role patterns when it's not working and kind of adjusting mid game. You see the good quarterbacks like you do it when you see a wide receiver or someone blitzing you. You see Wayne kind of do it. I do it if I get sacked a couple times or whatever the case is. So like you got to just change your role patterns if it's not working. And yeah, Kite had a really good game. We had really good improvs, and that game itself, we just smoked him. We just smoked him. We took the 4 point lead. So something that we didn't talk about is that we did rule book them. We were there. DTD was there 10 minutes early. Game was supposed to start at 1300, which is 1 p.m. And we were there at 12:50, and we waited and waited, and then 15 minutes went by, which is the rule that good old Lemnos that's suing us for this podcast and that we're gonna have to shut it down for um, wrote and
Mhm.
advocated, and then he gave them an extra 5 minutes of leisure with no communication because it says within the rule book that you have to have if it's communicated then it'd be an extra 5 minutes. So an extra 5 minutes went by, nothing, and then Portis 2 minutes later after the extra 5 minutes comes in. And, people will say that we're dishonorable taking the +4. What do you think about that? Won't our deal, Chris?
Well, I'll answer, but first I have a question.
Yep.
Or walk. I think the viewers want to know. It's better to hear it through voice. Walk me
Mhm.
through the decision to take that in the locker room. What was the consensus? What were y'all thinking?
Oh, so I was like, oh, dude, I think there's a rule that was in here. And then I was like, oh, yeah. Ren was like, yeah. It's 15 minutes. And I said, oh, okay. Well, Kite, get in here so we don't get penalized, right? So we got Kite in the lobby, and then we are just waiting. And then Roma was like, so what do you guys think? And I said, dude, I don't care. I said, we can beat him no matter what. I don't care. And then Kai was like, no honor, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't take the 4 points. No honor. And Roma was like, I don't give a fuck about honor. I'm going to go ahead and take these 4 points. And I said, okay, go, Captain. All right, Captain. Let's freaking go. And I think that kind of set the tone, to be honest, because Krusty is very easy to get in to his head mentally. So taking those +4 points, just like what you highlighted earlier, he should have taken that field goal any day of the week. But that +4 points, he felt like it was necessary for him to score that touchdown, which I don't think is very necessary. So
Yeah, I agree. If I'm in y'all's position, I don't know if I take the points or not, because yeah, I don't think I would. But that's
yeah,
easy for us all to say when we're not in the foxhole, so to speak.
yep,
But I will say that if it was the other side of the coin, Krusty would 100% takes those points. Just with the way he plays and his mentality. So I don't have a problem with Romo taking it because the other team would have done the same.
yep.
And the rule was there for a reason. Like people were tired of this, and this didn't happen all season. It's unfortunate for them that it happened, but it's in the rule book, so it is what it is, kind of thing for me. Maybe I'd be annoyed if it happened to my team, but it didn't. So we're just playing what ifs at that point. And then I think just kind of recapping this semifinals to go back to a season or episode 1 topic. I'm just kind of disappointed again, Dan.
Oof.
I'm disappointed in the post-game interviews. Like continuously, again, we have people that don't accept responsibilities for losses. They
Mm-hmm.
just want to trash talk their not trash talk because trash talk is like in the game and whatnot, and you back it up. Um, they want to downplay their losses and not accept responsibility. I don't know. I just don't get this mentality that people can't accept that they lost a game. Like sometimes you get outplayed and you just got to move on instead of whining for 6 months. So kind of disappointed in both of our teams that lost the semifinals that they did that, but whatever. At the end of the day, we have a great Super Bowl matchup, and I think was probably the best possible Super matchup of the semifinals teams. Maybe people would argue for the Apes if they had made it, but I mean, I feel like this is an amazing matchup, and we'll get into that later in the pod.
Yeah, I think it's electric. I think it's gonna be fun. Talking about that, people want to go ahead and joke that I don't take accountability, but every single interview that you go and hear me after the game, I always go ahead and say, "Hey, this was my bad. This is what we could do better." I have no ifs, ands, or buts. I don't care if I go ahead and call out people if they have a bad game, but that doesn't mean that I didn't have a bad game itself too. So yeah, there were some people that went there. I gave kudos to the other team. I gave kudos to Krusty. I said that he was a good lad and I would love to go ahead and play with Turkey because also you can't forget the storyline to that is that that guy traded me for going ahead and saying suck my balls. And then we go ahead and beat the team that I get traded to goes ahead and beats him in the regular season by a lot and then the postseason by a lot. And just, some people's words, there's a line, right? There's a line. And even in chat that we have, even with Kite and I, we talked about this as well. There's a line, and when you cross that line, it's just a little bit too much. And I think you're right. I think some people kind of crossed that line and said a little bit too much or didn't say what needed to be said within their scenarios. I don't think Wayne had that bad of a post interview, but I do think that there was some people that definitely, you know, could have just sucked it up, Buttercup, and then go to the next one, not be so salty.
Yeah, it was definitely more so Krusty, but definitely Krusty Senior blaming the loss on a bug was kind of like, really? That's what you're gonna do? But I guess it's expected. But I mean, the comments to Romo were so weird because Romo had a perfect QBR game. Like, what did Romo ever do to people? I
I don't
really don't
know. I
understand.
don't
Maybe
know,
maybe
dude.
I'm the
I
maybe I'm the
don't
Romo
know.
latcher, but like, what did this guy do to people? Like, if he doesn't play up to their standard, they're mad at him. If he has perfect QBR, he's getting shit on. Not to mention, then there's the homophobia comments. Shout out to Ocho. I think all the
Yes.
gay people in the world do deserve love,
Yep.
even if certain members of the league don't think that.
Yep. Yep. Cressy was on one. He's got some salt in his veins for sure. He has to stand up for himself because not that many people are standing up for himself besides Cressy Senior. But yeah, I think we're done with it. We just spent a good 28 minutes on the semis recap. And we're still going to go ahead and talk about a lot of those teams later on. What do you think about going to the next one? Do you have anything to highlight of the semis before we move on?
No, I think that's it. Not, how about I introduce the next topic? This will be
Okay.
kind of a quick hitter.
Okay.
All right, so here's the situation, folks at home. Four to
Yeah.
5 minutes left in the game. You're up 4 points.
Oh, that's
You're not in the game. You're not in the game.
I,
What three defenders are you picking to make a stop?
are we skipping? What are you latching onto this week? You're already latching on to Romo?
Um,
That was supposed to be the second one, but
no, okay, my bad, guys. I'm an amateur. I'm latching on to the NBT.
oh,
Now,
I
for
like
those of you who
that.
don't know, this is the new blitzing technique. Only me, Gurley, and Devin currently know this technique. So it's a technique still in the works. But how about the NBT? Gurley was out there making some plays on anxiety pills. You
Hmm.
know, I'm not going to say whether he was using the NBT or the NBT 2.0 because that's
Hmm.
only for us to know.
Hmm.
But I'm latching on to the NBT. I'm fully bought in. I was doing the NBT before his game, and I'm sold.
Yeah,
What are you
he
latching
he
on to?
he came out and said he was using the MBT 2.0, and he gave kudos to Devin. So tip your hats off to Devin for giving him the insider tips of same parallel, and then going ahead and going after the blue smoke comes out. So Gurley has publicly said what MBT 2.0 is. I don't know if that's your version of MBT 2.0, Prism. but that's what Gurley came out and publicly said. And yeah, it did pretty good against Wayne. Wayne is always like a 3 to 4 roll guy. And once you get his roll pattern until the point where he just gets fed up and then he rolls one side or just does a 1 or 2 move, then it's, you know, it's good. But yeah, Gurley blitzed really well. I think what I'm latching on to this week is my quarterback. I'm latching on to my quarterback. I'm latching on to Romo. I'm going to go ahead and pump up Romo's brain up so good and just keep on fueling him this fire. Nothing else in this whole entire world goes that it fuels him up like the Blitz community going ahead and putting some disrespect on his name. So what I do is I highlight that disrespect. I show him that disrespect. Like Gurley was talking mad trash to Romo, saying that he's nothing. He's going to sack him. No problem. Nothing in the post interview. And then that's what he said within chat as well. And that's all Romo needs right there. And then also Romo's still getting hate for having a pedestrian offense. So I'm just, just tapping him a little bit, being like, hey, don't forget. Don't forget these people. So I'm just latching on to him that way, kind of giving him that, like, earful of, hey, don't forget the haters. Keep on playing with hate.
Man, I like that. That's who I was latching onto last week. And Romo, you don't want to stop listening because some might be coming your way later in the pod.
Ooh. Ooh. Okay. Are we done with the latching on?
I'm done. No, I mean, can you ever really be done latching?
No, that's true. We just latch on
That was
anybody, I guess.
that was a good latch, Dan.
Oh, you're a good latch. Anyways, all right, you want to repeat what you said earlier when you said it so
Yeah.
enthusiastically?
All right, guys, it's 4 to 5 minutes to go. You're up 4. You need a fucking stop to get this win. It's the Super Bowl, but you're not playing in it. You're coaching. What 3 defenders are you choosing to have in the game? And tell me what positions. You go first, Sailor.
I am going to go ahead and go with you, Irv, and Devin. And I'm going to go with you at quarterback, Irv at RB coverage. So you can have top or bottom, whatever you feel. I think Irv usually likes top. And then I don't know if you like top. Anyways, doesn't matter. You guys both cover, and then Devin blitz. Devin is probably one of the most premier blitzers right now. He can get on you in a hurry, no matter what your roll pattern is. He does a really good job on timing the line, and he's getting better at spying, kind of knowing where people are at on the field. You and Irv have really good spatial awareness and kind of get what they're trying to do within the lures and the play. So I think there will be good switches there. I think there will be good natural communication there, even if you guys don't go ahead and vocalize switches and stuff. So yeah, those are my top 3 defenders defense to go ahead and lock down and get a stop. What about you? Who you got?
Well, I appreciate it, Dan. I'm a little too slow at defense and
Mm-hmm.
playing a little too safe to put myself. Pretty similar. I'm going Finn and Irv. The reason being that at coverage. The reason being both are very quick and kind of really stick to the defender, and they'll take some risks if necessary, and you know they'll guard the fucking route if they see it. They're like, oh, this is a fucking double route. They'll go for it. And then that blitz, I'm taking Devin. I need someone that can get me a sack, because if we get a sack, then we can call a defense on second down. We can give up that 5-yard slant, because we don't give a fuck about that. We're sending them to third down. So with the premier blitzer and then 2 people that play really tight coverage, I think that's going to give me my best chance to make a play.
Yeah, that's not too shabby. It's not too shabby. I think my only counter argument to that is I think Finn has had a lot more gambas and lapses. Like you saw within the LOS, there was a couple touchdowns that I think that was his responsibility. And I just think that he's more of a liability in that way than someone like you, Irv, Wayne, very solid defenders that don't really get beat deep that much. And I think Finn just gets beat deep too much. Yeah, I just feel like consistency is huge, and I feel like there's just sometimes that Finn is just inconsistent, and I would just rather have you or Wayne or people that are more consistent, because even me, I'm inconsistent in some ways, the way that I guard as well. So that's my
I think
take on
that's
top
fair.
there.
I think I'm just not too concerned with giving up deep. I want players that can play more aggressive. I want to try to get that stop in that fucking game.
Okay. I like it. I like it. All
Why
right,
don't you
we're gonna
introduce
go
our
on.
next topic?
Yeah, I'll get the next one and you enjoy your lovely salad that you're eating. It sounds very fresh and flavorful.
Oh, it's pretty good.
Having number one seeds in Final Four and also the NFL playoff system. So if you guys haven't watched March Madness, there's all number one seeds within each division are in the Final Four. So you have Houston against Duke, and then you have what are the other ones?
Auburn versus Florida.
Auburn against Florida. Okay, all of them have been the top-rated teams throughout the season, and the reason why it makes a good product and why it's good and not having Cinderellas in there is because you're seeing the best teams play against each other. And that coincides with the NFL playoff system, because what the Lions kind of brought up to the NFL is that, hey, we need to stop going ahead and making the division winners get the home games. Just go off the ranking system of what the top 8 teams are, or whatever the case is, throughout the regular season, and don't give the benefit to someone winning the division, because you can be like, what's that crappy division with Tampa and the Saints and all them? Is it the NFC South? You can have the NFC
Yeah, yeah.
South or the AFC South with the Colts and all them, the Texans and stuff, and have, like, they're crappy divisions. They're bad divisions, and they're getting benefited with a home playoff game for having a pedestrian record. And you just got to give the best teams their shot, and give them the credit that they deserve throughout the whole entire season.
The NFL thing, maybe I could be fine with. Although I will say, like NFL rivalries and like the divisional games, kind of is like what makes it special in some ways. Versus NBA, I mean, I don't think
Uh,
anyone cares about NBA divisions.
no.
As far as the Final Four, I mean, I do agree this year it could be good because, like you said, Ken Palm, which is like the advanced metrics for college basketball, these four teams are like rated like extremely high compared to like a normal season. So it's
Mm.
kind of good to see like the highest of the high play against each other in college. But the underdog is kind of what also drives like the excitement. So I mean, I would love one underdog to be in here, but I don't quite know if we're going to see that in the near future with the way college basketball is changing. So I think this season I'm okay with it. I think it's going to be a great matchup. I'm going to the Final Four, by the way. Going to watch my Cougs play Duke, and I don't know how that game's going to go, to be honest.
That's
It
so
doesn't
cool.
look great for us.
That's so cool. I'm rooting for you. I'm rooting for the Cougars. I'm rooting for them. I bet some money on them, and I'll get some money in return. So go
Oh shit.
Houston. That's so cool. It's one in a lifetime memories going to those type of events. So especially that you went to that school, right? So it has a little
Yeah.
bit more personal flavor to it. But I feel the whole entire Cinderella thing. I'm cool with the Cinderella going ahead and making, the Sweet 16. But when it comes to, especially with what you're saying, it's not just college basketball landscape, it's the whole entire college athletics landscape itself that's changing. And I feel like NIL, if they don't change it quickly, it's going to be like this for a while, because you're going to have the better players that have proved themselves within college go to a college and kind of create these little super teams that are being made. So it's kind of good and bad, because it kind of goes ahead and deteriorates college athletics, because football's doing it as well. Football I think is pretty bad, because college basketball has always been one and done, but college football, it's like, oh, one year I did decent. I'm gonna go to this college now. Oh, I'm gonna get more money, and it's just, there's no loyalty anymore in a lot of college athletics. Um, but the NFL playoff system, yeah, for sure. We need to make it happen. It doesn't matter if you win your division or not. Like, just if you have the better record, give them the freaking home game. Stop homering them, please.
Yeah, I mean, I guess at least that would make sense because then divisions still are somewhat important. But
Yep.
okay.
All right. on to the next one. This one is pretty juicy here. There's a lot of stuff going on in this one. Did the Turkeys have a disappointing season? And is Krusty overrated?
You know, I'll start with the first question.
Okay.
Did the Turkeys have a disappointing season? I have to say yes.
Okay.
They're the defending Super Bowl champs. They brought back, two-thirds of the duo and had another excellent player, then like a good bench player. They were the overwhelming favorites going into this season. Regular season, it was kind of a shit fest. Like some games are good, others are kind of clownery. But as far as playoffs, I don't think a semifinal loss for this team is a success. I think if they went to the Super Bowl, okay, that'd be fine. But to lose in the semifinals, like with how loaded their team is, I think it's 100% a disappointment. And I kind of think they're the underdogs of last season, which I think you maybe called, Dan.
They were the what? Sorry, I was looking at something to go ahead and prove my point. What'd you say?
They're the underdogs of last season. They
Oh,
kind of squeaked
yes.
these wins by,
Yes.
didn't really improve, and kind of flamed out.
Yes. 110%. Uh,
But
I guess you want me to answer the first part of the question, then we can both answer the second part of the question?
yeah. Why don't you go ahead and
Okay.
answer both of those?
Yeah, no, definitely they were the underdogs of last season where they started off really good on in the win and loss category, but they won some very not sexy games and they didn't really go ahead and learn from those games unless if you have someone that's in that locker room that can go ahead and be like, hey guys, that was a good win, but we got to get better XYZ, then that's good. But they didn't have that. Turk is very cool, laid back. He just shows up and plays. Portis is the same thing. So it'd have to come from Krusty, and it just didn't look like they learned from the mistakes. Now, I won't say that they truly had a disappointing season, the Turkeys as a whole, because the matter of the fact that they did go ahead and beat the teams that were pretty high up there and they did go to the semifinals. So, and it's really tough to go ahead and make the semifinals or win a playoff game with an NFL blitz. He did have to go beat you, even though that you did have two rookies, and he's kind of highlighting that. I wouldn't really, we're gonna come back to that topic a little bit later. So I wouldn't say the Turkeys had a disappointing season, but I'll go ahead and go into the next part of it. Is Krusty overrated? I think Krusty had a really disappointing season. I do think Krusty is heavily overrated. Krusty last season, he had, pretty good stats 22,173 yards, 16 touchdowns, 8 picks. Like, that's the middle of the pack last year. He had pretty good stats. Now, going to this year was just absolutely an abomination. And we can go ahead and say that, I call it the Down syndrome season last season, right? Because we had people that, we were doing it for funsies where all the veterans, people that were, higher up there in quarterback want to go ahead and quarterback, right? Last season. So, last season to this season, like this season, he had 1,440 passing yards, 10 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, and he had 19 total turnovers. So he had 10 touchdowns for 19 total, well, no, 14 total touchdowns and 19 total turnovers, which is really bad. It's really, really, really bad. And I think in the semifinals game, he truly was the reason why they lost on defensively, offensively. He just totally dropped the ball in the red zone. He couldn't cover anything. Like, he was the main reason why the Turkeys lost. Turk didn't have that good of a game. Romo neutralized him. But Krusty itself had I think it was a very showy season of, yeah, he got some wins, and we'll come back to that a little bit later. The way that he won and get who he won against and why. But yeah, I just think that Krusty is like tier 3. He's still tier 3. He's still got a lot to learn. I think he's grown a lot. I think he's got better a lot, but his head is way too big for what he's produced this season.
Well, As far as overrated, I think it depends what we're talking about. If he's is he top five? Is he best QB in the league? Top 10? Going back to last season, I'm on the side that last season was a legitimate season that these teams were pretty good. So I don't discount his Super Bowl win. I think the thing I've been curious to see, which I mentioned earlier in the pod and last episode, how does he do against a team that's more complete defensively? Because I really do think because he's really good at playing to win. So if he has that way to exploit a team, that's where he shines. But if you put him against elite, so say you give him um, Wayne and Turk, and then he's having to go against Finn, Irv, and some other good player. I think those are the games where he doesn't perform as well, and where you'd rather have someone like Romo at QB. But if you're putting some of the more middle of the pack or some players with weakness or rust, I think he'll excel and he'll find a way to win. He's one of the better winners we had in the league. But I was disappointed by his playoff performance. I mean, looked really bad on defense. Uh, and offensively, yeah, he just never developed the game besides the up down routes. Doesn't really use icons or doesn't do any plays towards the middle. So I think that's just what's missing for him to take that next step and then to also play at the line more. Because you're limited when you scroll back. We saw that with Squid and we saw that in the playoff game. It limits your options. So I don't think he's overrated. I mean, maybe I jumped the gun when I was considering him, top five, top six. Maybe he more belongs around that 10 range, but I think he's still a really good QB, just kind of a boring QB to play with, frankly. Like I would never I think before season 3 I was like, "Oh yeah, let me play with the rookie. It'd be fun." But now, I mean, I just personality aside, I don't think I'd want to play with him because I'd just be bored out of my mind. But I don't
Yeah.
have him overrated. And I
Okay.
want to say I want to see how he performs in the tournament because I don't really know
Ooh.
where to rate him right now, to be honest. So come back to me in a
Yeah.
few weeks and I think I'll have a good answer for you.
Yeah. We got some spiciness later. Yeah, I think he's a solid quarterback. Let me go ahead and stand on business here. I think he's a solid
Okay.
quarterback, but I think with the way that he talks, just because he won last season's Super Bowl, even though that, I guess it's not really on the podcast, even though that I think it's more of Jeff choking vice him truly winning. But he did win it, right? He did go ahead and get the win. So you got to go ahead and give the props. But when it was just kind of like what you're saying, it was a more skillful battle this season, and he still got to the semifinals. So kudos to the Turkeys as a whole. But we always give him props for time management and knowing how to do time management, and he played that semifinals game just horrifically. Like his time management, he called timeout with like 6 minutes left. He wasn't telling his team to get out of bounds with like 15 minutes left when they needed to go ahead and get out of bounds. Like there was a lot of leadership things. And I think, again, that's what I learned as well. You got in my head so bad that season one when you're just talking shit to me. You know what I mean? So I
Hmm.
think people got to realize that the mind games when you're playing it, even if you squelch that other person, that other person's talking shit, especially when you're not playing well. So it's actually better to go ahead and have that person unsquelched and just either embrace it or let it fuel you. Because if you let it go ahead and cripple you, then it's just going to be bad. It's going to be bad, bad, bad. And yeah, I don't think the Turkeys had a disappointing season. I think, they did a lot of things, especially with the way that their quarterback played. Their passing, touchdowns, all that stuff. He was like second to last in QBR. Actually, out of all the quarterbacks, I think he had the worst QBR besides Jeff. That started basically every single game. So the Turkeys as a whole, no, I don't think they had a disappointing season.
That's fair. I think he earned last Super Bowl though. By the way, I think I'm perfect QBR. So I don't call it a Jeff choke. I think they earned it.
But Jeff made that field goal. Jeff made that field goal. Would we
Yeah,
be
you never
here?
know how the game plays out the rest of the way. But maybe the mental game did have an effect though, because he did seem a little shaken, a little shattered. So maybe you got to him a little bit. Um, yeah, I do remember he likes to talk a lot, but honestly, I think that's just because he has a boring office job that probably he only needs to pay attention to 20% of the time. So it's like a good outlet. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
maybe he's got a big head. We'll see. We'll see how he does in the tournament. I'm excited to see it.
Yep. And no shade on the person of I'm gonna be real. I don't give a crap about the person you are. Obviously, Prism and I have this podcast now. I don't hold grudges. I let bygones be bygones. So, you just gotta you've walked the walk a little bit last season. Kudos to you. Proud of you. It's just we're standing on business on this season in particular. So it is what it is.
And adding on to that, yeah, it's easy to be a good winner. It's hard to be a good loser, and I
Yep.
think he's got to learn that lesson because I mean that post game interview was kind of sad, in all honesty. But I mean, we said enough about it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, he went from the Monopoly men to the team that he had last season that had success to this season that fell short in a catastrophic way. So,
Hmm.
it's just a roller coaster, and also realizing that this is a fucking game. Like, this is a
Hmm.
game. And what people got to realize is that once you take it seriously, like I've taken this shit seriously to the point where I've left the server twice, right? And you got to
Hmm.
realize that, just okay, whatever. I can fucking go walk out, live my real life stuff. So, Cressy, yes, I think you're overrated. I don't think you had a disappointing season. No hard love lost. And that's it. Get ready for next season. Get ready for the tournament, which we'll talk about later. But the next one is what we've been waiting for in a lot of these topics. You want to read it off, Riz? You get the read off?
Yeah, and this is Dan's topic, not my topic. Is the league getting better, or did Wayne and Prism choke not to get in the Super Bowl?
You want to answer first since I was kind of rambling there for a second?
I mean, I definitely think the league's gotten better. Like
Mm-hmm.
season one, I remember the first time I played Lemnos, Team Cuddy was QB. Season, then you had Daniel Korean. Season two, Tony's team had Ma for most of the season, who was getting better and better, but clearly he needs time to get there. A lot of these teams had this story, so I think as we've seen in season three, and then as we got to season four, more of these teams had complete teams, players that can competently switch to blitz, that can run the defenses, teams that now that they've got enough reps, they understood how to play game situations versus in the past, probably a lot of teams didn't know, time management and stuff. So I think a lot of these QBs are used to being able to exploit the weak player, and that was sometimes a struggle this season. So I think teams got better. Did Wayne? I mean, honestly, uh, Crusty Senior had a bit of a choke. I mean, he was up 14 or whatever. Maybe it was 11. I don't know. He was up two possessions, right? And then up at the ball with the ball at the end. He was milking the clock as much as he could, playing the win, and then he just, I don't know, he threw the end and didn't take the field goal. Mine, I mean, you could call mine a choke too. Like my team put me in the position to win, and I didn't get the job done. But I thought ultimately the team we played was the better team, and they deserved the win. So I don't know. What's your opinion, Dan?
I think both are valid. I think the league is getting better, and then also that you guys choked. I think, with your situation, I feel like you had the game in your hands and you ran that play, three times consecutively, and you just try to go ahead and get it in there. And it was a very risky play, and you paid the price of that risky play. And you had the ball, you had the chance to score, and we know that Cressy can't get down the field like a lot of like Finn can, a lot of other quarterbacks can. So I think both are valid, and Wayne definitely did choke. Wayne choked on defense and offense. The League of Shadows, someone that's in my top three or top five of defense. If you're a top three, top five defender, and you have a two possession lead within 5 minutes to go, yes, you're going against the freight train that is GGG, but at the same time, just play prevent D and let that time tick, baby. Make sure that play shell D, play deep shell D. Don't let them go ahead and go down the field because that's exactly what they want to do. They want to try to go ahead and throw sidelines. They want to try to go ahead and go deep, and it just was bad in that case. And then that last drive, just what you're referring to, like you could have pulled something that people have done in the past of rolling back and maybe kicking a field goal, especially if they're spying. That's no honor, but that's still winning the game. And also, you had a couple of plays before that where you're kind of picking on Irv because Irv, just like we were saying earlier, roll defense, kind of reads what you're giving him. he picked on their short sideline instead of skinny and then rolled opposite, like that play would have worked tremendously there. But yeah, when the lights shine bright on you guys within both of those scenarios, it was just not your time. And I feel like that's where the league is getting better, and then also where you guys just choked in those scenarios.
Yeah, I mean, definitely thinking about mine more. Like, yeah, I crossed the line like twice when I tried to throw the
Yeah.
wide open the play
Yeah.
on top twice. Like, I think we had it both times on Portis, and I just didn't execute.
Mm.
But going to defense, this is something I think I've said for a while, and I've thought for a while that there is a few players in the league who have kind of lived on their reputation on defense.
Mm.
But the results haven't been there. So I've been one of them. I firmly believe I'm one of the weaker defenders in the league. But the other one has been like Wayne in playoffs. I know season one, I pretty much just tried to abuse Wayne the whole game. I tried to avoid throwing on Finn's side, and the one time I did, he guarded the play and won them the game basically. Season two, Wayne kind of got abused in the playoffs as well in the Super Bowl. In this game, I think Finn, in all honesty, was attacking Krusty Senior the whole game,
Yeah.
especially in clutch time. That when they were down three, he just repetitively went after Krusty Senior and honestly abused him. He knew his tendencies, and he was able to get the win because of it. So I think if you players, we have to realize, what are the results in front of us and who is. I think Krusty Senior has been one of them, and other people maybe aren't given their props. Like, I mean, holy shit, Money was balling out on defense at the start of the season. If we just went on reputation, we wouldn't be giving his props. But some people were giving them, so I respect it.
Yeah,
All I was
I
gonna
will
say,
give
this
shout out to Wayne to for saying that he wasn't playing really good defensively in his post game. So kudos to you of taking accountability there, realizing that you didn't have your best game defensively. Cheeky also said that he didn't have his best game defensively, but sometimes better offense just beats better defense, and GGG's offense was just clicking on all cylinders that game. So both offenses were doing really well. It's just who was going to have the ball the last, and GGG had the ball last, and good stuff from them within that last stop. And you can't always win. So what was really kind of um, odd is that we saw a different part of Wayne that night. He was very sad. He was very disappointed that he didn't make the. I think he kind of got humbled a little bit within his own way because he lost to Finn, and Finn was, Finn and Wayne, who carried who within the first Super Bowl and the second Super Bowl, going to the second Super Bowl, XYZ. He's very sad, disappointed. And the next day, like he was on attack mode and just doing very unorthodox Wayne stuff. So you could tell that it affected him, um, and kind of affected his ego a little bit, and that's I think everybody kind of needs that. I've needed that. I was freaking 0-3 within the playoffs, and people would just go ahead and clown on me, and then you just gotta you gotta embrace it at some point.
Yeah,
And
it's not always your time.
yep.
And I think for a while now, Krusty Senior has really been focused on being like the best player in the league. Like that's a lot of his identity.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but honestly, like before the game, I told you and all our viewers at home on the couch that Finn was the best player in the league, and I think last night he showed it. Uh, to win against, first off, Wayne's team was a complete team. Squid at wide receiver was having an excellent season blitzing, was
Yes.
doing a pretty good job on offense. Mouton, excellent defensive season, perfectly fine on offense. So for Finn to beat a complete team against one of his peers at QB, who many consider better, with with fucking a rookie, Gurley, and Gurley of all rookies, to win that game, I think Finn affirmatively. I always thought Finn was the better player of the two, and I think
Mhm.
affirmatively Finn showed it last night or
Yeah.
whatever night.
Two things. One, we didn't give props to the League of Shadows in their season, especially Blue Squid. I think if we had a Most Improved award, I don't know why we didn't have a Most Improved award this year, but if we did, it would go to Blue Squid in my opinion, because I think Blue Squid, especially later on, played just out of his mind, defensively, offensively. putting up the numbers that he put up, and then also how many sacks and how much of a game changer he was. Muton also was Defensive Player of the Year worthy within a lot of his early to mid games, and played, you know, really good for a Canadian. I'm just kidding, but really good. And so shout out to the League of Shadows and their season and thing. When he did come out to play, he, first time playing within 18 years and played out of his mind. So we didn't really talk about that when we did the semis. So shout out to League of Shadows and the other players. We just talked about Wayne for majority of that time. Um,
Yeah, yeah. Talking about Squid, I think he played much better when he focused on getting sacks. When I
mhm.
played him in the past, he tried to do that spy shit too much, and then it would just be C3. So it's like, what am I not going to do? Am I not going to take the 30-yard run in front of me? And a lot of time he would do it, like even though his team had it perfectly covered. So I think he's a great blitzer when he tries to generate some pressure.
Yeah. And on the other hand, it's more of with taking these humble stuffs and realizing that it's a video game and realizing when people go ahead and talk trash or whatever the case is and where they truly come from. Um, it's more of how are you going to bounce back? Are you going to go ahead and talk back? People have different strategies. There for a while when you were just on my ass for like months, I never talked to you. I never talked back to you, right? When you just kept on coming at me, coming at me, coming at me, I never talked to
Hmm.
you, right? I've changed my strategy tenfold. Now I just come at you and then wait until, we go ahead and come out to understanding, or, I lose some and you win some. And I think within Wayne's case, I do give you kudos to go ahead and take responsibility. I do give you kudos of giving your team kind of their their props as well. But yeah, we felt it. I felt it in the interview. I felt his sadness. I felt that he was shocked. I felt that he couldn't believe on what just happened, and that he's not going to be in the Super Bowl for the first time throughout this new generation of Blitz. And then his morning after, just his anger, his he was just like no dealing with bullshit kind of attitude just came out. So I liked seeing that. I like seeing different sides of people and truly showing their true colors. So it was good.
And Dan, I'm going to tell you what era we're in now because we're talking about the league getting better.
Mm-hmm.
We have officially entered the Cell era, and the reason I say that is Finn,
Mm.
aka Gohan, is
Mm-hmm.
now the strongest fighter in the universe.
Mm. Mm. Another one, actually, the main topic that I want to go to because I kind of forgot this my second point, but my second point that I was going to allude to, someone brought this up the other day, is that within the auction drafts, whoever spent the $100, like Finn spent the $100 on Wayne, then they go ahead and go to the Super Bowl, they lost that one. But when you get a tier one on your team, whoever gets a tier one on their team, and if you're a tier one, I feel like that's an auto bid to the Super Bowl. So Finn having Irv, I feel like, it's just a no brainer that they're going to go to the Super Bowl. What do you feel about that?
I mean, I think it was a no-brainer pick for him. I mean, you saw my three best defenders, 2 out of 3 were GGG.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the whole season maybe they'd be able to get someone different, like like Intox signing up, or frankly, I was going to give them Jeff for free if they ever wanted him. I never talked to Finn about it, and Jeff didn't want to go. Um,
Jeff latched
but yeah,
on
I
to you?
think I think he latched on. Jeff, it's a mutual laugh. Jeff,
It's a visual latch.
I'm right in the Jeff.
You can finish your sentence. Sorry.
No, I know. I think I finished.
Okay.
I think it was a good choice. I don't know if it's auto Super Bowl, but I mean, so far it's worked out.
Yeah. All right. On to the next one. This is a good one. Height. What's his problem? What's his problem? Do you know, Priz? I know, but do you know what his problem is?
No, I don't think I know. I kind of wondered where this is coming from, Dan.
Okay.
And,
So
and so is Augustus.
Augustus? Cheeky one, a few cheeky one. That's kite for you. What
Tuka?
people Jester? What people gotta realize is that TNG 3.0 is a walking meme. He's just a walking meme. Now, Kite 188, if you go ahead and talk to him, Kite 188 within his DMs, or if you have a personal conversation with him, he's actually a very nice, intellectual, very calm mannered guy. So I'm sent on business. I'm kind of going ahead and telling what it is because a lot of people think that we have a feud or there's things going on. It's just it's just to have fun, guys. It's just to have fun. So just know that it's just to have fun. Kite will be. There's no way Kite doesn't show up in the Super Bowl. He's kind of holding our team a ransom right now, saying to go ahead and play him again, and he not going by the terms. I gave him the terms. It's either you show match Krusty and you play in the Super Bowl, and then we go ahead and have our next show match, or you put $50 on the 75 that I just gave you, and then we go ahead and go at it again for the double or nothing. Because double or nothing, I won the $150. I gave him $75. Just out of being a good friend and teammate. Now he
Oh,
wants to go ahead and say, "Oh, I'm going to give you no, we play for the other 75." That's my money. I just gave you my money. Go ahead and put some of your own money. You keep on talking to people about how you will get crypto, you got more money, you got more bitches, all this stuff, but you don't want to put your own money on it. Why would I, Priz, go and entertain a show match when I just 39-0 wax this guy? Why would I entertain that and then put people through that mess again? I think the only way that I go and entertain it is if he does those terms and then it's 15 minutes because I'm not doing another 20-minute show match and it was grueling 39-0. That was just so grueling.
yep. I think you need some of that cash money on the line, Dan. And Dan, I just kind of thought a good strategy for you interacting with Kite going forward
Yep.
is maybe check Bitcoin if it's up on that day.
Oh
Maybe you interact
yeah.
with Kite. If it's down, maybe you avoid Kite.
Yeah. Yeah. No, Kai has fun with me. I have fun with Kai. So yeah, that's what his problem is. Not really a problem. It's just him going
All
ahead
right,
and fulfilling the fake persona of TNG 3.0, being very
all right,
passive
Dan.
aggressive.
Dan, give me the mic.
Okay.
Dan, I mean, if you guys are able to win the Super Bowl,
Mm-hmm.
here's my question:
Yep.
does Kite have a place in the elite tier in the tournament? Currently, right now, he's pretty underseeded, but as a RB wide receiver, his coverage is unpredictable, which is kind of a good thing in my eyes. He's been up there so far.
Yeah. I'm gonna stand on business on this. I think that he would be in the great division. I think he's like a higher tier 3 or lower, maybe tier 2 within some cases. I think his quarterback isn't there yet. I think his wide receiver we haven't seen in ages. I think his RB he listens very well. He listens to play calls very well. He also listens to defenses pretty well, and he stands by it. He's learned from his mistakes for not following defenses, but he actually does a really good job on being a good teammate in a lot of scenarios. So yeah, I think Kike definitely should be in the great division. To be honest, I think it's kind of a meme that he's in the good division, but I love it because it kind of humbles him a little bit. And yeah,
I'm gonna stand on fucking business that I think Kite maybe belongs in the elite division.
mm,
I think you put him on my team. I think I would love having Kite. Like I think he'd be high on my list. Thought
mm.
about if I didn't do rookies, I think I was gonna go Kite Nito this season.
Oh man, that would have been a great
But
team. I can tell you that for sure. I'm on that team right now, and it's a great team.
yep. But been impressed with you, Kite.
I would I would say that the whole entire divisions. I guess we'll talk. Uh, the whole entire division thing within Jeff's tournament is kind of skewed with some people not being in their proper divisions. Like you definitely deserve to be in a league division. There's people over Krusty, but we'll talk about that later on at a different time. And yeah, I just don't think Kite is there yet. I don't think he is. By being his teammate, by playing him as much as I play against him, he's trajecting, but he's not there yet.
BPTO, please.
He's little T.O. He's my little T.O. Okay. All right. The juicy one. The last one. The last topic. I think we're at like an hour plus here so far.
Okay.
Super Bowl predictions, Priz. Super Bowl prediction. GGG versus DDE. Number 1 and number 2 seed of season 4. Who you got and why?
All right. I mean, I just got to give the intro, right? This
Yep.
is a matchup I wanted to see. I think a lot of fans wanted to see. The only
Mm-hmm.
person in this matchup who's won a Super Bowl is Finn in season 1 and then season 2 by forfeit.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so we either have DDE, everyone wins their first Super Bowl, or basically everyone on GGG except Finn. Uh, I mean, last time Romo didn't run on Gurley much, so that's gonna be one of the matchups to watch. And then also, how are y'all's defenses going to do on Finn, who's going to be closer to the line of scrimmage and is very fast, twitchy? Irv's going to be looking for those icons. My prediction: DD is the better team, but I'm riding with Gohan. I think Gohan, aka Finn, is going to show that he's the best player in Blitz, um, despite having the holies in with the a rookie and everything. I think he's going to prevail. I think he's going to be able to run the ball a good amount this game. I think he's going to find the holes we all call defenses, and he's just so hard to stop that I think he's going to be able to get it done. I think he's going to lock in, and then I think Finn and Irv are going to be able to take some of these risks on some of these delayed routes by Romo or these double routes. Um, Now if Romo is running on Gurley a lot and taking those quick runs, it's going to be a long day for GGG. But I'm riding with GGG. Team of Destiny, perhaps, with Gurley. First off, Gurley, incredible season. A few people were kind of shitting on Gurley, not for his play, but for his excitement. I love the energy Gurley brings. He's excited to play the games. He's talking before. This is one thing I don't like with trash talk. There's some people who will play the game and then at the very end they'll say something like that. To me, that's just a weak, bitch ass move.
Uh-huh.
Like if you're gonna talk from the beginning.
Yep.
It's easy to talk when you're up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but see if you're like Luca and can talk when you're down 3-1, then that's more respectable. Um, so
You miss Luca? You miss Luca?
oh man, the Mavs are fucking retarded. I'm not a Mavs fan, but
Okay, that's right.
but I mean yeah, I'm riding GGG. Romo can use this as motivation, but I think Finn's gonna show he's the best player in the game, and that's why they're gonna win.
I like that take. I like that take. I also like the take of Gurley being very confident. He's got to walk the walk. He's got to keep on walking the walk. I told him never to change. Keep on having that confidence. It is very contagious, and it's very fun having someone like Gurley within the league format. But I'm just. It's going to be a really close game. It's going to be a good game. It's going to be a really close game. Within my comment of last time, I said that whoever goes in and turns the ball over first is going to go ahead and win that game between DD and the Turkeys, and the Turkeys turned over the ball first, and then we ended up winning by a lot. I think this game, there's a little bit more to it in that regard. I feel like whoever has the ball last will go ahead and win the game, and it might come to that point, or it might come to milking. So either way, what happens, I feel like it's going to be last possession. Whoever has the ball last is going to go ahead and win that game and solidify it. If they need to go in and milk properly, or if they need to go down and score, they're going to get it done. And I got faith in my team, but we're gonna play Nito for a half. Romo has came out and said that we're gonna go ahead and play Nito for a half. So Nito,
Oh, you cut out.
set.
Nito's playing?
Nito's playing for a half. Yep,
Oh, holy
Romo's came
shit!
out.
Let's go, baby.
Yep. He sat on danger rest the whole entire season last season. So we gotta go ahead and play him. We played him for a full game once already this season, which he did a pretty
Against
good job.
GGG,
Yep.
right?
Yep. Yep. So he's gonna get his redemption, and we'll see from there. I don't know what the half split up is, but Romo has confirmed that he will go ahead and get a half. So it'll be fun. Me personally, what I gotta do is I gotta try to get in Finn's head, and Finn knows that. I gotta try to get in his head. If it's me talking trash to him, it's me going ahead and playing mind games with him on the field with blitzing. And I feel like that's kind of a hidden art within blitzing, is how to go ahead and get in the quarterback's head. Me knowing from both ways. quarterbacking a lot, and then also, blitzing, is that how am I going to mess with this guy's brain? So that's what I'm going to do. I think we kind of have a good understanding on their defense, what they like to do. And yeah, it's going to be a doozy. So get your popcorn ready. I do think that, I don't think we did the score predictions, but I'll do a score prediction. I'm going to have DDE beat GGG 28 21. 28-21.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Dan, it's interesting because you're talking about the blitzing and everything, but I mean, Nito's going to be blitzing for a half, so you're going to have just even less opportunities to make that play or get that read. So that's going to be pretty interesting to watch. I'm more excited for the game now that I know Nito's playing too. Rookie on rookie in the Super Bowl, like that's amazing to see.
And if
Um,
they had honor, they would play Nina. I'm just saying. They would play Nina for a
uh,
half if they had honor.
fair,
Just saying.
fair.
Mm-hmm.
I think what I'm interested to see, I could see this happening a lot this game on these 4th and 2 to 4 yards to go for it or not. I want to see what the teams end up deciding. I think that's where the game could be, key. I know last season Romo's struggle, if I'm to give the scouting report, is he was not great in red zone. So you knew if you got him in the red zone, you had a good chance of getting the field goal out. So let's see if he produces. I think I said that last time, and he produced this in playoffs. So I want to see what happens. This is gonna be a fucking great game. I'm taking GGG 29-17.
Ooh, 29-17. Oof. Well,
Maybe 29-20. It's gonna be something like
oof.
that.
Oof. All right, all right. I like it. I like it. I like it. Gives my quarterback. I told you I'm latching on to my quarterback all week this week. So it gives my quarterback the extra fuel to get him ready for Sunday. But y'all,
Yeah.
y'all at freaking home, you little blitz weasels. Okay, you better get freaking ready. You better go ahead, show up, watch the Twitch stream, be in your nice little boxers, PJs, whatever you like. Get your Mountain Dew, get your Doritos, get your popcorn ready, cause it'll be electrifying one. That semifinals, there was a lot of stuff that happened. There was a lot of turnover possibilities within the LOS League of Shadows and GGG game. You had, kind of uncharacteristic line hop from Finn. There was a lot of stuff that happened, and it might be a lot of. All right, sorry about that, you little blitzy poo poos. We were kind of talking about the Super Bowl. We're gonna go ahead and end this. I think we have our score predictions locked in. This is the last Sit on Business episode ever. So, just kidding. We got him, Briz.
We got him.
We got him. We'll see you next week, you motherfuckers. And we got a special guest that'll go ahead and join us for part of the podcast, and hopefully he can stand on business. Prism, do you think he can stand on business?
Oh, he always stands on business. Who's it gonna be, Dan?
I hope that he stands on business. I don't know, man. Sometimes he's like very too sugarcoating. He's like very passive, and he's like, "Oh yeah, this," and then he's like, "Oh, but he's so good at this and this," and it's like, just Jeff, just stand on business, Jeff. Jeff, just go ahead and say what you gotta say. You don't gotta go ahead and give the positive and the negative. Just sometimes you can go ahead and give the negative reinforcement. Okay, just be real within that subject. You know what I mean?
Looking forward to having Jeff on, aka Mufasa, aka the Sneak Core, aka
Mm-hmm.
leader of Clan NFL, aka tournament all-time winner, aka we have 16 mutual friends, aka Mr. Resilient, aka Mr. Dangerous,
AKA my king, my lord, my liege.
a- aka Laser Focus,
Mm-hmm. AKA, what was the Russell Wilson one?
Mr. Dangerous,
Oh yeah, you already said that one. But
aka Volleyball Goat.
yeah, volleyball tourney. When are we having it? $75. Yeah, that's
Make
gonna
it
be
happen,
fun.
Jeff.
It's gonna be fun. It'll be a fun next podcast. Going in and have someone different. Hope you guys enjoy it and get ready for the Super Bowl on Sunday at what was it? 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. Do you believe that's the time of the Super Bowl? 6:30. 6:30 p.m. PST, 9:30 Eastern.
Yep.
Well,
And if you're listening to this, we still got a lot of time till Sunday. Plenty of time to get your puppet strings out and start
mhm,
to make things moving in action.
that's true. The puppeteer. Get to work. All right.
Okay.
You son of a bitches. We'll see you next week. This is Stand on Business with
Prism.
and Dan. Go fuck
Shout out to
yourselves.
Sin. Shout out to Sin.
Sen, welcome back, baby. I fucking love you. I fucking miss you. Get the soundboards and just right.
Can, no, we're not in the server. Dan,
Oh,
can you give us a live one?
Sinner. Peace out.